On today's Locked On Predators, we'll talk about which defenseman has the highest ceiling, review the center core after early free agency moves, and tell you which Nashville Predators player would earn gold at the Olympics.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Friday episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everydayers who tune in each and every weekday to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
On today's show, Emma and I are going to wrap up a Predators mailbag. We had plenty of questions, so this is part 2 of our mailbag episode. We're also going to finish out this week with a little Olympic-themed fun Friday game. You all are definitely going to want to stick around for that. Who only knows what's going to come out of the giant foam 10-gallon hat. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, Emma, we got a huge response from our insiders and from our listeners when it comes to our mailbag questions. So much going on with the Nashville Predators this offseason. So we're going to jump right in. Barry Neal, 1990. Y'all, that was a good year. I won't tell you what age I was, but 1990 was a fine year. But Barry Neal, 1990, wants to know, what will the Preds center core look like next season? And this is a great question with some interesting answers. So centers that we saw last season, of course, Ryan O'Reilly, Tommy Novak, Colton Sissons, Mr. Potato Head himself, Cody Glass, Michael McCarron, Mark Jankowski played some center last year as well. When you're looking ahead, Emma, who do you see as kind of the main guys that are centering the 4 lines for the Predators? And who would you maybe say could slot in as well?
Well, I think you've got Ryan O'Reilly, Tommy Novak, Mr. Potato Head, Colton Sissons, and Michael McCarron on the 4th line. That's your 4. Your 4. I can count. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's fine. Then you also have, like you said, you got Cody Glass in there too, if he is still here. You have Cody Glass. You have Steven Stamkos, who has expressed his openness to returning to play center, which he used to do. It's been a while, but he has played center. You've also got Juuso Parssinen, who can play center.
Very true.
So, and Jankowski, like you said. So you've got options. As it stands right now, I would roll with those first 4 that I mentioned, and then, maybe plug and play as needed. But I think that's how I see it playing out.
Yeah, I really feel like that's probably the 4 that we're going to see right out of the gate at training camp. I feel like that's your ideal 4 guys centering lines. But like you said, it's very interesting because you have some people, especially somebody like Steven Stamkos, who could come in and play center, which then kind of opens up opportunities on the wing, playing, top 6 minutes. And I think probably, I'll speak for myself. I think Luke Evangelista, when I think about an opportunity playing, with Stamkos kind of centering it, if Marchessault is also on that second line. But I do think there is a way, and I think it's something we're going to be watching and reporting on very closely at training camp. I do think that there could be a scenario in which you could see Stamkos maybe centering that second line and maybe have Marchessault playing on a third line with Colton Sissons. There are so many different options for Nashville. And that's where I think when you're looking at the big picture center core for Nashville, Nashville in a lot of ways is set up very, very well because you have high quality players that can play that center position. Tommy Novak, I think, could be an amazing second line center, but if that doesn't work out, you can put Steven Stamkos in there. And I've heard he's pretty good. At hockey. So
that's what they say.
We've heard rumors of such. So I do think that Nashville really is in a very good position when it comes to their centers because they have options. They have very, very good options. But I agree with you. I would go Ryan O'Reilly, Tommy Novak, Mr. Potato Head, and Michael McCarron. That's
I think, another option, this doesn't really do much with the top six, but I'm just thinking out loud right now. You have Jankowski, who you mentioned has played center. He was playing a lot on that third line towards the end of last year. What you could do now that Kiefer Sherwood is gone, in theory, you bump Jankowski down to that fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
He could play center or wing, as can Michael McCarron.
Right.
So those can kind of be interchangeable. And then at that point, you mentioned the spaces on the wing, which again, so we had initially said, I think Parsonen could be on that fourth line, which is still very possible.
Right.
But you could also move him up to the third line, try him at center, at wing. I think you could put him on the wing, like with Colton Sissons as a center. Or if Tommy Novak's not ready for those top 6 minutes yet, then you put him on the third line. I just think there are a lot of options. There's no shortage of options for sure.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is I would love to see Michael McCarron stay at center only because I loved at the end of every morning skate. What did he do? He got with Ryan O'Reilly. And Tommy Novak did this quite a bit too. And the last thing they did morning skates was face-offs. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly worked on face-offs and worked with these players in face-offs too. They spent a lot of time doing that. And I think, that is maybe one of those under the radar, high important skills as well. So Nashville in a good position. We'll see how they sort out. It'll be interesting to see as training camp goes on what Andrew Burnett feels like. Here is another question. And this one, I will say I actually spent a ton of time on thinking through because it is not an easy one. Of the three, Spencer Stastny, Alexander Carrier, or Dante Fabro, which of those three defensemen has the highest all-around ceiling, Emma? Tough question.
It is. I would go with either Stastny or Carrier. I think maybe, I don't know, like my knee-jerk reaction is to say Stastny just because I think ceiling and I think unproven, and he's got the least NHL experience. So it's like, well, we don't know what his ceiling could be. It could be sky high. We don't know. But Fabro, I'll start with Fabro. Fabro, I think, has been in the NHL long enough. You kind of know what you're going to get from him. And I think at the time he was drafted, obviously he was a first round pick. I think that his ceiling, especially offensively, was considered to be much higher. Now,
right.
and he didn't get time in the AHL. He went straight from college to the NHL. Like that could have hindered his development a bit. I who's to say, but I think that at this point, I think we kind of know what his ceiling is. He's a very reliable defenseman. He's very good in his own end, but I don't think he's got quite that offensive touch that maybe was expected of him when he was drafted. Going to Carrier, that's why I say I might have to say he has the higher ceiling over Stastny, only because we have seen one season of him just offensively really popping off, and that was his rookie season in the NHL. And he's had some injuries, he's had some setbacks. He had the whole adjustment period with the brunette system, which affected everyone. So I think that he has never quite gotten back to that level, but we have seen it at the NHL level. And I think that, again, love Spencer Stastny. I don't know that he offensively would be able to replicate what Carrier did in his rookie season. He might. I mean, hey, that would be great. But like, I don't know that I see that. And so I think, I don't know. It would be a toss up between those two.
I think it's very interesting. And you mentioned this in passing. They have come from very different development paths in a lot of ways. You mentioned Fabro, no time in the AHL. He got done at Boston University. Nashville needed him right away. And then he made the roster out of camp the next season. Alexander Carrier, he had 4 seasons in Milwaukee. And then he's, finished 4 seasons in Nashville. And like you said, we have seen some offensive pop early from Alexander Carrier, but he's had kind of some rougher seasons recently, like you said, with injury. Spencer Stastny did 4 whole years, did all 4 years at Notre Dame to get his degree, apparently not in accounting.
No, he's got a CPA. That's
we're sure of it.
Yes.
But he's had 2 full seasons only in Milwaukee, but he's still, like you said, we haven't seen his ceiling yet. He's still breaking into that NHL role. If you're talking defensively, you have to say that Stastny has that elite skating. I mean, it is a standout elite level defensive ability, that is higher. But he is still developing his defensive game at the NHL level. So I don't know that we're going to see his offensive game develop for several more years. Like that, it's a process.
And again, Stastny's skating 1000% higher ceiling than Carrier. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. But Carrier, he's a smaller guy for a defenseman, but he plays big. And I don't really think Stastny plays quite as big, at least not now. He blocks a lot of shots. And again, it's those are all things that I'm like, dude, can you stop? Like
it's stressful to watch.
It's stressful. I'm like, you are not a large human. Like, please
Your target is narrow.
Please let Jeremy Lauzon handle that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that ceiling can mean a lot of things. Like there are certain things that I think Stastny is going to be better. Certain things Carrier is going to be better. Yeah. It's also hard because you mentioned they've all had different paths, but it's also hard to compare the 3 because they are all at different junctures in their paths. And so 100%. It's a little hard to say. Like it would be probably more fair to make that comparison if the 3 of them were all like, all came up in the same draft class or all, just something like that. It's a little bit harder in this situation.
Yeah. I also think you mentioned Jeremy Lauzon. We may not have seen as much offensively from Carrier this past season. Like you said, there's an adjustment. Everybody saw it. Roman Josi experienced it with Andrew Brunette's system, but they also were very much used as kind of this shutdown defensive pairing as well. It wasn't just the third pairing that was doing that. I mean, they were out there. They were the pair out there against the top line. And so they wasn't a lot of opportunity for Alexander Carrier to show off his offense. It is something that he mentioned he wants to work on. We're going to keep an eye on that. Great question. Tough question. I spent a lot of time today agonizing over that. And here's what's real. I don't want to decide yet. Good job for you, Emma. I'm going to hold off deciding.
I could answer, but in my defense, I don't want to.
Yeah, great question. They're so different. And like you said, they're at such different stages in their development. This is going to be a great question, I would say 3 to 4 seasons from now to revisit. And I think the answer will be much more clear. Coming up, we are going to tell you what we think of the long-term direction that the Nashville Predators are headed after what I would describe as a franchise-changing offseason. And we're going to tell you if we think there could be any more moves on the roster before training camp starts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. If you are looking for some great summer activities and events, you have got to check out Gametime. With killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Look, my husband and I have been saying we are going to take in a Nashville Sounds game as soon as the weather's a little bit more tolerable in the evenings, and the place where we will go to get those tickets, it's going to be Gametime. Whether you are looking for sports, comedy, a concert, or a show, Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to get your tickets. They offer great last-minute deals and flash deals, and my favorite part is they have all-in pricing. There is no shocking surprise fees when you click checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Emma, we have a couple more questions that we're going to tackle here before we get into what I like to call Fun Friday Olympics. Do you think the Nashville Predators are going to make any more trades this offseason?
Yes. Because as it stands currently, technically they are under the salary cap by the almost 600K.
Yeah, right around there.
Right around like
But
590, something like that.
Yeah.
However,
Spencer Stasny says
Spencer Stasny and or Juuso Parssinen and or Philip Tomasino, these are guys who are not currently on like included in that number. So those guys, if like we now know that Spencer Stasny is on that 2-way contract for next year, if he starts the season in Milwaukee, it won't matter. But if he starts the season in Nashville, then all of a sudden you're over the cap. Same thing with Juuso Parssinen, Phil Tomasino, Mark Del Gaizo, any of those guys, they're going to put Nashville over the salary cap. And it's kind of understood that one, if not multiple, but probably just one of those players is going to be on the opening night roster. So while they are technically not over the cap right now, they will be once one of those RFAs or pending RFAs joins the opening night roster.
Right.
So, and Barry Trotz said that too at his free agency availability when he was like, look, we're looking to move one or two more guys. I mean, frankly, because they have to. So
yeah,
I do think, I they're not going to make any more. Well, who's to say? I didn't think they would get Steven Stamkos. So what do I know? But I think
that's true.
I would not anticipate them having any more like big splashy trades. Like they're not any trades that they're going to make. They're not going to be adding. They're going to be looking to subtract. So, it would probably be, they offload someone and then in return get prospects or draft picks because otherwise they can't afford it.
Right. And I think we're looking at, if somebody said, who are they looking at? I think as much as I don't even want to put it out there, you're looking at potentially Cody Glass. I think that'd be a big mistake. Possibly Dante Fabro, possibly a defenseman, because Barry Trotz has been up front, likes Del Gaizo, really wants to get a look at Adam Wilsby. So the pipeline on the D is getting a little crowded. I don't think it's that they don't like Fabro or Glass for that matter. It's just, I think those are two names I know in the back of my mind that I think could maybe not be here. They each are on a $2.5 million contract, which would, of course, then alleviate and give some space. So those are names we're not happy about, but
they're names.
They're
That's
names.
They're names.
Names. Do with those names what you will. Another question, and I think this is a great question. Emma, are you happy with the long-term direction of the Nashville Predators right now?
I don't know. I guess so. I guess that's what I've been saying for the last month, 2 months now. Like,
This is us giddy, y'all. Can you
yeah.
imagine if we hated it?
Listen, I am well aware I'm like kind of dead inside, but like just in general. But I mean, I am genuinely excited. I mean, for me, it's a little bit different. I'm not a fan of the Predators. I didn't grow up with this franchise. Like, I haven't been a longtime fan, but as someone who covers the team, I tell you what, it's a hell of a lot more fun to cover a team that's actually trying to win. So
Yes.
I am excited. Believe it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah. This is us excited, y'all. Can you imagine? No, I am too. And I will say it feels different to me because of something that you have talked about and we've discussed on the podcast as well, because this team is set up for now and not yet. And that is a very, very difficult place to get a team to where they could win now. And when I say now, I mean the next 2 to 3 seasons. And not yet. This is still a team that is set up for success 5, 6, 7 seasons from now as well, because they have such a rich prospect pool, the players that they've signed, the mentors they have in the system now who won't be here in 6 years, but who will have impacted the quality players that they have in the pipeline as well. So yeah, for me, and I will say this, and this is so funny, and Emma and I can tell you that being a fan of a team, that's sort of the F word when you cover sports. It's like the F word. Don't be a fan of the team. And some people are and some people aren't. I will just say from my perspective, I am a fan of the team. But I also am a fan of my children. And you can bet, Joe, or you know what, that I am more than happy to tell my children who I'm a fan of when they're screwing up. So I feel like people say, I don't want to hear from somebody who is a fan of the team. Like, I can love this team, like I can love my children, and I can also tell them when they're being asshats. So, like, it is, you could do both. And so, as a fan, I think I would say fans should be really excited long term when they look at this team. And as somebody who covers the team and at times does have to be objective, it is so much more fun right now.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
it is so much more fun.
Well, I think too, like you mentioned it, the situation that they're in is so unique, and that
Gosh,
because
yeah.
I think of a team like, for example, the Florida Panthers last season or the Carolina Hurricanes. Like,
Right.
both of those teams were projected, and they did have better seasons than the Predators did. Like, they were supposed to. But in both of those cases, you had so many, it was almost like stressful. I mean, for Florida, clearly it worked out. They won a Stanley Cup. But I mean, it's like, it's stressful to watch because you're like, oh God, like they have this year and that's it, because they're going to have a
Right.
ton of free agents. Everyone's going to be gone next year. They can't sign them all. And you know, Vegas was kind of in a similar situation too. So it's just like, that is almost, would, to me, if I was a fan of those teams, it would be more stressful, I think, because
Right.
like, oh God, they have to win right now, otherwise their window is closed. And the Predators, like, this is just the beginning.
There
So
is no
it's a good,
clear expiration date right now
no,
for Nashville. And
no.
I agree with you. Very few teams have are in a situation where they don't know. They don't they
And
know when that door is going to close. They know when
yes,
that's going to close. And right now Nashville doesn't have that expiration date. And that's rare.
an unpopular opinion. You know who we have to thank for that?
Say
David
it.
Poile.
Thank you.
David Poile. Yes, Barry
David
Trotz.
Poile.
Barry Trotz 1000% gets all the credit for all the moves made this offseason. Those are moves that I don't think David Poile would have made if he was still here.
Mhm.
However, the reason that the window isn't slamming shut in 2 years is David Poile.
Preach it, sister. Preach it, sister. David Poile, absolutely agree with that. Set Barry Trotz up for this kind of general managing success and set up a fan base for a very long time with some really exciting players and opportunities for this franchise to do some really amazing things. So I agree with you. Let's hear it for David Poile. This is Locked On David Poile today, friends. It is. Coming up, look, it is Friday. It is the weekend. The 2024 Summer Olympics are kicking off this weekend. And in the spirit of the Olympic Games, we are going to play a fun Friday Olympic-themed game coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Look, we love sports here. We love them so much. We never want an off season. We never want them to stop. But friends, we all know the playoffs have wrapped up. We're getting fewer NHL games, and the sports, they are not sportsin' like we want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open up their app and dream up bets anytime you are in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Emma, the Summer Olympics are kicking off. Little fun fact about me, I am Olympics crazy. I usually host an Olympics party for opening night. I make a cheese ball in the shape of the Olympic rings. It's a whole thing. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a little embarrassing, but we're just being transparent here.
No, I'm learning new things about you. I love it.
Obsessed with the Olympics, summer and winter. But it is the Summer Olympics, which means Nashville Predators players not participating in the hockey like they will be in a couple of seasons. But we decided to just dream a little bit. And in the giant best piece of hockey swag, 10-gallon foam hat, we have put in some of the Summer Olympic events. And we're going to pull them out. And Emma and I are going to take turns telling you which Nashville Predator we think would best kill it in that sport. And I mean, yes, that's right. I did put rhythm gymnastics in here.
See, you're at an advantage because you wrote them down. I have had no time to prepare.
I know. I'm so sorry. Only a little bit, though. All right. Let's start with this one. Platform diving, which is insane. Mm-hmm. Insane. You're going to, first of all, walk up all those steps. Nutso. In a Speedo, lots of courage there. And then you're going to dive off a giant cement platform. Got to be a little crazy to do that. But who do you think would be best at something like that on the Predators team?
I think I'm going to go UC Saros. I think I'm going to go with UC Saros. Because I mean, again, this is me talking out of my behind right now because I know absolutely nothing about platform diving.
It's Fun Friday, y'all.
But I know a thing or two about goaltending in the NHL. I feel like it would require a lot of focus and precision and just mental stillness. And I feel like you'd have to be really dialed in for that. And I mean, not that you wouldn't for other sports, but
this especially, I would agree with that.
The precision piece especially. And I think that UC Saros could handle that. Being an NHL goalie, I think that he could handle that kind of pressure.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. I think I would go UC Saros now that you've laid it out. In my mind, I was thinking like Luke Evangelista in the sense that you have to be a little bit extra. You have to be a little bit like Daredevil, a little, first of all, you got to be confident because they wear Speedos. I'm not joking. Like, like it's not in a swimming sport. Don't matter how much y'all would pay me, but I could see Evangelista being like, "You dare me to go up there and do that? Yeah, okay, I'll go up there and do that."
That part is true. That part, like he feeds off of that. If you tell him he can't do something,
Yes.
he will be at the top of that ladder in seconds.
You just have to have some chutzpah to do that.
Yes.
And I feel like he walks with a lot of that kind of confidence. But
That's fair.
okay, let's see. Ooh, this will be so interesting. I feel like you're going to have good insight on this one. Soccer. Who would be the best at soccer? Because they play that kicky game. The kicky game to warm up.
Two touch. The kicky game.
Kicky game. Well, they don't use their hands to play it, do they?
No, it is indeed a kicky game.
Who is best at the kicky game? Because I think that would be who would be best at soccer.
That's fair. Probably Philip Forsberg. It would be Philip Forsberg, or maybe Luke Evangelista is pretty good at it.
Is he really?
Michael McCarron's pretty good at it. Yeah.
I could see that. Philip Forsberg. I would go Forsberg just because, he's around soccer a lot.
I'm just going to start referring. I'm going to start referring to soccer as the kicky game.
Well, just so everybody is aware, this is my public service announcement for Americans who love the Olympics. It is going to be called football for the next 2 weeks.
Or the kicky game.
You're welcome. All right. We got time for like 2 more. Oh my gosh. This sport stresses me out, but I watch it all the time. Water polo.
Ooh.
I am short of breath when I watch water polo.
Yeah. I'm going to go Cole Smith.
Interesting.
I'm going to go Cole Smith.
Okay.
I think he, like you mentioned the out of breath, and like you got to have, again, any Olympic athlete has to have good conditioning. But again, I feel like Cole Smith is so dialed in on his body and like taking care of his body and being in fantastic shape, working on his conditioning, working on everything. He is also like the ultimate team first guy. And I could see, I'm going to go Cole Smith. And also because he likes, I don't know why this crossed my mind. I'm like, he likes to fish, and fishing happens in water.
So how would it not be? No, that's a great one. I was going to say Ryan O'Reilly because he spends so much time on the ice.
Yeah.
And I also think, for as lovely a person as he is, and I will say, I think Ryan O'Reilly is one of the most lovely people. And I'm not just saying that because we want his house. We're going to buy it outright from him. But I do think Ryan O'Reilly, because water polo, man, under the water, they are clawing and kicking and hitting and all of that. And I think Ryan O'Reilly has maybe a little bit of that because, he had an older brother. You got to fight when you're the younger brother. So
that's
all right,
that's a good one.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Equestrian. This is so obvious.
Is it?
It's so obvious.
Oh, now
to me.
See, now I feel bad because it's not obvious.
You want me to answer this one? And then you can tell me if I'm wrong.
You go first.
100% it is the Viscount.
Oh, duh.
It is 100% Alexander Carrier, especially if, because they're in their fancy stuff, and some of the men wear the big top hats when they do equestrian.
Like jockeys, this equestrian is not the same as horse racing, but like normally you want a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Duh. Why did I not think of that?
I really feel like it would be the Viscount.
You are not wrong,
Chihuahua.
The Viscount Chihuahua himself.
That's right. 100%. Well, I hope that everybody enjoys watching the Olympics kick off this weekend. But yeah, be curious to hear what your thoughts are. Like, what Nashville Predator would kill it in which summer Olympic sport? Let us know. Tweet us at LO_Predators. Of course, you can leave your thoughts below our YouTube video on YouTube. Before we sign off for the weekend, though, Emma, let everyone know where they can find you and where they can find your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me at @AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. That is going to do it for this week of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Little programming note. We are kicking off the off season. That's right. There's a little tiny off season here at Locked On Predators. We will still bringing you lots of great off season content, but we are going down to 3 times a week, and we are going to be kicking it off next week. So don't be surprised if there's a little less of us. If you want a little more of us, and I just don't know how you wouldn't, you can always join our Insiders program too. There's information in the video description and in our bio.
What a segue. That was well done.
Smooth.
And honestly, again, I've said it before, we are delightful conversationalists. You should want to join the Insider program.
We are so great all the time. Don't ask around, but we think we are so great all the time. So yeah, feel free to jump in, join it. It's an insider program via subtext. We love to have discussion anytime about the Nashville Predators. Hear your thoughts, questions, comments, etc. Hope that you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the Olympics. Cheer for USA. Cheer for Latvia as well. And we will be back here on Monday with a special crossover episode. So we will see you then.